Hippocrates Health Institute says that today's fruit is picked unripe and has been hybridized to be much sweeter than it was in nature many years ago. He says that fruit sugar is still sugar and that healthy people should limit fruit consumption to no more than 15% of their diet by weight, or around a piece a day. He says people fighting a health challenge should eliminate it completely until they're better. Do you agree with his recommendations?
I don't agree with it. I think the studies show that eating more fruit, especially certain berries and cherries and pomegranates and guava and kumquats, and there's a lot of fruit that has very powerful anti-cancer effects shown in studies, and even anti-diabetic effects. And I think that trying to eliminate fruit to that degree makes the diet very unpalatable, and it's not going to extend people's lifespan by cutting those foods out. There may be an individual, such as a diabetic that's poorly controlled, who needs to restrict fruit in the interim period so they can get their diabetes under control. But I don't see it's even necessary in most cases to resolve type 2 diabetes, who get well and complete recover and get rid of their diabetes utilizing fruit in their diet with much higher percent than that. I usually recommend people can eat up to 3 pieces of fruit a day, not 1 piece, even if they're diabetic. And I do recommend people have 1 serving of berries or some kind of low sugar fruit or high fruit with high level of flavonoids per day. So I think that restriction on fruit is too severe and unnecessary.
Can too many cooked beans or whole grains raise our blood sugar and make us pre-diabetic or diabetic?
People can overeat on any food. Can too much, that's a really not a specific answer. In general, people shouldn't be overeating any food. And they should be trying, because one of the features of living longer is just moderately caloric restriction a little, making sure you're slim. If you look at an overweight person, they're overeating something. They got to look at what they're doing wrong, and maybe they're overeating whole grains too. But if you're eating a wide spectrum of natural foods, enough vegetables, enough onions and mushrooms and then a reasonable amount of whole grains and beans is going to be weight loss favorable, not weight loss unfavorable. But because people are indoctrinated from their little kids to try to overeat, and they've practiced overeating and eating huge amounts of food, it may be necessary for some people to watch the amount they're eating and even restrict their consumption of whole grains or beans.
Does it make a difference for health if you eat beef from organic grass-fed cows versus factory farm cows?
That's a hypothesis, but it looks like most of the studies that we have on eating more meat causing premature death and more death rates are done on populations that are eating organic or naturally raised animal products. In other words, much parts of the world, Argentina, Australia, most of their meats are naturally grazed or organic, and we still see high rates of these serious causes of increased risk of premature death from higher meat diets, even when those kind of meats are used. So it's a concept because these naturally raised or grass-fed meats have a better omega-3, omega-6 balance. There's maybe some have less certain types of residue, and they may be somewhat better, but most likely the amount that they're better is not sufficient to result in a change in lifespan parameters, a significant change in how long people live, because it's the other qualities of the animal products, like the high amount of protein and the lack of fiber and phytochemicals and how fast the complete proteins enter the bloodstream, revving up body production of growth hormones, producing cancer. There are other reasons why they have negative effects outside of their contamination issues or their omega-3 balance. So it's most likely the case that the studies we have now and the studies in the future will confirm that as well, that switching to organic meats is not going to make the eating of meat harmless or no longer dangerous. It's still dangerous.
How do you help people who are dealing with food addiction?
Well, you and I know, and a lot of people out there know, that there's so many people who want to get healthy, and we're giving them so much hope in letting them know that they can lose weight, they can get rid of their diabetes, they can melt away their heart disease, they can even get well from autoimmune conditions and things like fibromyalgia and migraine headaches. But they're so food addicted, and there's so much obstacles in their way that they don't seem to be able to control their behavior enough to get well, even though they want to do that. And I've devoted my life to trying to help these people. And even at my facility, I have a retreat where people can come and stay for 4 to 12 weeks. And a lot of people, they need to stay for 6 to 12 weeks. They need to stay a long time because 1 or 2 or 3 weeks may help them, but it's not going to help them long term if they go back to eating their unhealthy diet. It's not enough time to reverse food addiction. And they need the psychological counseling. They need the emotional nurturing of why they turn to food to solve their pain and their emotional problems and their loneliness, and how that's been developed in their life. Some people need intensive counseling to be able to eat healthy and recover from food addiction. And they need time and distance away from their food addiction triggers in order for the addictive nature of food to go down again, like staying away from cocaine long enough. And so I've put together a facility with all the right features of education, cooking classes, emotional support, physical and psychological support, to enable people to stay in a safe and enjoyable environment, enjoy the transformation of their health, and recover sufficiently emotionally too, so when they leave, they can continue to live this way for the rest of their life. Learn and become an expert in living this way and enjoying it, and learning how to cook it and make it. And let's devise something that you can stay with and willing to live with for the rest of your life. Because one thing I want to make absolutely clear, that anything you do for a short period of time is of no benefit to your long-term health unless you can maintain that forever. So going on some radical program that you can't maintain is not the answer to your long-term health problems. You've got to figure out what's going to enable you to reverse your disease, lose weight, get to a healthy weight, and actually structure your life and your capabilities to be able to maintain doing that, and for the rest of your life, or the benefits aren't going to be realized. And I am particularly passionate and enthusiastic to be able to tell people that they don't have to be sick. That even the people, because I've seen so many people that have wanted to be healthy, learned about what to do, and just don't do it or can't do it. And I felt bad about those people not having help or getting into health tragedies and calling me up from the ICU. I should have listened to you, Dr. Fuhrman, but I got myself into the ICU and I'm over and over again. So I'm seeing a lot of incredible, miraculous health transformations occur. And the health transformations occurring in people who couldn't do this on their own. So I want to make sure that people know that there's help available and they can get well, and even if it's too difficult for them to do it alone, they can get support for this. The easiest way to find me is drfuhrman.com. I have lots of recipes there, information, books people can read. I have a supportive membership services where people support each other, set up meetups, and we have vacations planned for people together, and we have asked the doctor, we have people able to read and supply questions to myself and my medical staff and food addiction counselors, and if they need to, they can get information about my Eat to Live retreat and see if that's right for them or something they need to consider.
I want to ask you what you see as the importance of the Real Truth About Health conference. As you know, we're putting this out here for free to the public.
I'm very glad that I have an opportunity to participate in the Real Truth About Health conference. I think it gives me and other speakers with scientific integrity the opportunity to speak directly to the public and get information out to motivate and instruct people how to live a healthier life. So it's very important. So I don't sit down and I don't view every single speaker, and I can't give my stamp of approval on every person that speaks. But I think people should be able to review what's being said in an open environment and review things with a questioning eye and think about what's science and what's the support and the logic behind the presenter and come to their own basic conclusions. And I think that this is an excellent conference that gives people a large assortment of very educated and interesting speakers. Not that I think all the information is something I could support, though.